David Harper with the BBC News. The UN General Assembly has voted by a huge majority to condemn the Russian invasion of Ukraine, calling for an immediate withdrawal. Only 5 countries voted against the resolution. China and India abstained. From New York, here's Neda Tawfiq.
The General Assembly vote makes clear that the overwhelming majority of nations deplore President Putin's invasion of Ukraine, and it underscores Russia's isolation internationally. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the Assembly's message was loud and clear: end hostilities, silence the guns, and open the door to dialogue and diplomacy now. During the rare emergency session, Russia defended its decision to invade its neighbor, denied it was committing war crimes, and accused the West of pressuring and threatening countries to vote in favor of the resolution without providing any evidence.
The mayor of the besieged city of Kharkiv in eastern Ukraine has said Russian shelling is inflicting heavy casualties on the civilian population. He said the city would not fall to Vladimir Putin's invasion force. Ihor Terekhov told the BBC that shells and cruise missiles were hitting residential areas constantly, and Russian tanks were approaching. Further south, the port of Mariupol has sustained a bombardment. Local officials say casualty numbers are unclear, but with entire districts leveled, there appears hundreds of people may have been killed. The cities of Chernihiv and Kharkiv have also come under heavy Russian artillery fire, while Kiev is still bracing for an assault. This, you said, is in the Ukrainian capital.
We have just heard reports, defense officials, that this long armored column that we've been watching, which is less than miles from the center of Kiev, for a second day it hasn't moved at all. It's another guessing game. Why is it stalling? There's some reports that it's waiting for food for the soldiers, that the soldiers don't want to make a move on this capital. We've heard similar reports across the country. The Russian soldiers are aghast at what they've been asked to do here in Ukraine. Whatever it is, it still sits there ominously at the edge of Kyiv.
These two said, reporting. The Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich has confirmed that he is selling the English Premier League club Chelsea. He promised to donate the net proceeds to help victims of the war in Ukraine. With more, here's the BBC Sport reporter John Watson.
It is clear that Roman Abramovich feels now is the time to take a step back from the club and put it up for sale. We know he's invested close to £2 billion in the club since he took it over back in 2003 when he bought it for around £140 million. It was interesting to note as well today some of the quotes that came out from a potential interest party, the Swiss billionaire Hans-Ulrich Wyss. He was quoted in a Swiss newspaper today as saying that Roman Abramovich wanted a sale quickly.
You're listening to the latest world news from the BBC. The governing party in Georgia has said it intends to apply for immediate membership of the European Union. Jan, the Georgian Dream Party, told reporters he was calling on the EU to accept Georgia as a candidate. It comes a day after the European Parliament backed Ukraine's application bid. The UN has agreed to start negotiating the first ever global treaty to tackle plastic pollution. After a week of talks in Kenya, member states agreed to create an intergovernmental committee to draw up a legally binding treaty. Will Ross reports.
Delegates meeting in the Kenyan capital Nairobi clapped and cheered as nearly 200 nations unanimously agreed to tackle the scourge of plastic pollution. That was perhaps the easy part. Now they've got 4 years to come up with a legally binding treaty. This will include new rules for production to make recycling easier and promote sustainable use. Because plastic doesn't degrade, it breaks down into ever smaller pieces, resulting in microplastics. We currently dump 11 million tons of plastic into the ocean each year, and that figure's expected to triple over the next 20 years.
The UN Human Rights Council has appointed a former chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court to lead a panel investigating violations of human rights in the conflict in northern Ethiopia. Fatou Bensouda, a Gambian national, will lead the panel, which will look into alleged violations by all sides and identify perpetrators. The war between Ethiopian federal troops and Tigrayan forces began in November 2020. The International Atomic Energy Agency's Director General has said his organization will never abandon its efforts to get Iran to explain the previous presence of nuclear material at 4 undeclared sites there. Tehran has insisted that agreement on reviving the 2015 nuclear deal, which gave Iran sanctions relief in return for limiting its nuclear program, will only be possible if that investigation is ended. BBC News.
Welcome to NewsHour from the BBC World Service. This is Andrew Peach in London. Russia has stepped up its attempts to break Ukrainian resistance to its invading forces, firing more shells and rockets into civilian areas and deploying extra soldiers, including paratroopers, to fight their way into urban centres. Cities in the north, in the east and the south have been under attack today. Moscow has admitted hundreds of its troops have been killed. The price being paid by Ukrainian civilians is becoming increasingly clear too. 2,000 people are estimated to have died so far. Who's in control in different towns and cities is hotly disputed, of course. Russia said it had taken the Black Sea port of Kherson, but the city's mayor says it remains in Ukrainian hands. Here's Hussein, who's trapped in Kherson with his 5 and 3-year-old daughter. He told NewsHour he'd seen Russian soldiers there this morning.